presentations. And for those who want to know more about our presentation later, so we can give you the YouTube channel, and you can definitely get to see our presentation later. So without further ado, I know time is an essence here. I have taken 5 minutes. I would now pass over the presentation to Satish himself, because he is very much early in Mumbai. It's about probably 9:30. So good morning, Satish. Yeah. So I hope I haven't given you a really wake up call. And we, Malaysia is noon time. This is about lunchtime. So by the time we end at 1 o'clock, people will be rushing to look for food, right? So I think the food for thought about today is on material sustainability, and the tools that you make that you're going to present to us, I guess, will be the food for thought for most of our presence today. All right, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Noor, and good to meet all of you guys. And yeah, it's 9:30 a.m. and it's not really early for me. I tend to get up at 6 in the morning and carry on my routines. I've been joined by my team member Qarina, and she's part of our business team and closely works for some of the international markets. And Dhawal is also there. He's our customer success leader, and he is the one who's going to give the demo of our digital solution. So I think I'll be mindful of time. I've been introduced by Dr. Noor. Yes, so I come with 20 years of experience, in global companies like S&P Ratings, Bank of America, in sustainability and ratings and governance space. More about Updapt, we are like a 48-member team now. We have clients in over 4 or 5 countries. We are part of Accenture Ventures. We've been funded by them, and yes, so that's a bit about us. I think I'll be mindful of time in the next 50-55 minutes which we have. What I'll do, I'll share to set the context, though I'm many of you guys are in the space of sustainability, or at least in whichever way as stakeholders as part of that ecosystem. But I'll still spend about 8 to 10 minutes to set the context, share a presentation. The next 20 minutes, we would like to show you some of the tools which Dr. Noor mentioned in terms of which can enable medium to large businesses, to manage their ESG performances digitally. And the last 20 minutes, we can have Q&A and any other inputs, which the audience would have. And that's how we'll run the next 50 minutes, right? So yeah, thanks. Just allow me to share my screen. So first things first, just to, the kind of space we are into, ESG sustainability, if you go to the fundamental thought process of, a company being, any business being assessed on, financial performances, right? But what would you do of those financial performances if there's a threat to the planet itself, right? And last few years is what we've been seeing, that, companies being assessed, not only on financial performances, but also on the ESG performances in terms of the risk which the companies face, and also the opportunities which the space provides, right? So that's pretty critical, and given that, that is getting embedded to, each and every business strategy at a thematic level, and also at a, at a target level. It's been grown in last few years, given that almost all the stakeholders are looking at the ESG performances, of the counterparties or of their clients. So I don't need to speak much here about that, but we all know the risks we are experiencing in our daily lives. Those experiences eventually, to reduce those risks, we need to make changes to the way businesses function. We need to make changes, some of them, at individual levels also. We are seeing extreme weather events, and social and the governance issues we've been experiencing across the globe since years. But climate risk is the biggest risk, which this planet is facing. And also, so one is the risk side, but the moment we speak about risk, it also opens a lot of opportunities for related players in the market, who are there to mitigate the risk for the businesses. And this trend has been witnessed, by global players, whether it's the political leaders or it's the government leaders. We also saw, global players or global leaders coming together in Glasgow, in November 21, COP26 event, speaking about these issues, and wherein countries have pledged towards the net zero goals. So just highlighted some of the key risks, physical risks, as you spoke about. We are seeing, weather changes. We're seeing floods, droughts everywhere. Whichever part of the world, there are so many top cities in the world, which potentially, the sea levels are increasing, and hence, survival to the properties and the lives of the people itself. And then the transition risk from the potential cost to businesses by virtue of introduction new processes. Personally, I firmly believe those are the investments that we should be looking at, in the initial phases to reduce the transition risk, right? Which eventually would mean that, the firm is sustainable from a long-term perspective. And then the liability risk, which arises from the failure to reduce or to comply with the upcoming changes. So what I've done is, just to set the context, and as you see, put down some of the key themes under the environment, social governance. We'll see these parameters as we run through the ESG tool, to highlight in terms of, the key KPIs which every businesses, should be tracking. Obviously, it would be specific to the materiality assessment of each of the companies. As I said, with risk, there are a lot of opportunities, which potentially can be leveraged by companies, right from the way they manage their cost, right? Initially, it could mean that, if it could mean that the company need to spend more from an investment perspective to fundamentally change their businesses, but over long term, it is going to be P&L beneficial. It obviously opens new revenue opportunities, right from whether it's a technology player or it's for the renewable energy space, or for instance, the electrical vehicle space, and so many other things. And it's important that, businesses align that, otherwise the stakeholders they need to interact with, whether it's the investors and, board and other customers, it could impact their business itself. Just a minute on this, the shifts, which we are experiencing, right, in the market. The shifts, which we are experiencing in the market due to, the net zero journey, which, many businesses and countries are targeting, right from the demand of products to the allocation of money, funds, capital, and the impact on cost, right? The first column, which you see, we are seeing that, demands for high emission products is gradually reducing, and it would further reduce, whether you call it fossil fuels or plastics. We are going to continuously see that reduction, and definitely increase in the substitute products, which are going to substitute these old fashion or old style products. Coal, some of the highlights I've put it in terms of, for instance, the coal production, we are going to see that, it's going to nearly end in the next 30, 40 years. Countries need to come together, and they have come together. They are creating policy, they are creating regulations around that, right? And those regulations would eventually mean that each of the companies need to amend their corporate strategies and their policies. Capital, again, we are seeing a lot of reallocation of the capital to new age technologies, to assets which are low on emissions, right? And three sector groups specifically, transportation, power, buildings, which account for 75% of the total spending, towards the net zero. These are the sectors which we'll see we are seeing a lot of reallocation, and which we are going to see in coming years. Yes, that would mean that, some of the costs would increase in the initial phases, because the moment you invest in new technologies, right, that would mean a capex initially, but eventually it would lead to better, P&L benefits, because your P&L will be more sustainable. You'll be able to fulfill demands of various investors, market participants, rating agencies, and all. This is an important slide. If you look at any business transaction now, almost every participant in that business transaction is looking at the ESG performances, right? Whichever country, over 30 countries have made it regulated. Let's look at Malaysia, for example. sustainability reporting is key for all the public listed companies in that sense. And if you look at almost each of those companies, even large private sized companies which are not listed, I would say, would have an investor to manage, would have a lender by virtue of the loan they have taken, and the rating agency and other stakeholders. All these stakeholders are looking at not only the financial performances of the business, but also the sustainability performances. Investors, before investing and after investing, are looking at it. Lenders have also started mapping ESG risk as part of the credit underwriting process, and they have started looking at ESG performances of large borrowers. Regulators we spoke about, it's mandatory for over 30 countries, including Malaysia. Uh, Rating agencies, both credit rating agencies and ESG rating agencies. So in that sense, a good ESG performances would mean that you can negotiate well with the credit rating agencies, demonstrating your thought process, demonstrating your ESG processes, which could eventually mean that a better rating and hence a reduced cost of capital and ability to raise funds. Auditors, again, both stat and internal auditors are looking at it, right, from an internal control and risk perspective. Similarly, board members in their fiduciary capacities, and even if you're a customers, if you are, for instance, sorry, if you are a supply chain partner to a large corporate, good ESG performances could mean that you can retain or acquire a new customer, effectively. So in that sense, is beyond regulations, is getting business imperative. You can sharpen your P&L and balance sheet performances by focusing on ESG. And what does it mean for any business process to be enhanced? Data is going to be extremely important. A robust ESG process is going to be extremely important. These are some of the ROI, return on investments, for robust ESG process, right from top line to managing your cost, to investment ratings we spoke about, and managing your risk itself. So yeah, I'll not speak much about here, but we all know what ESG reporting is all about. But how do you carry out that reporting is going to be extremely important. At a granular level across your businesses, and then aligning into global standards like GRI or TCFD, which is going to become imperative in Malaysia now, for instance, right? This is again important, that how do you report ESG at a process level? It may appear, pretty complex, but the tools you deploy, is going to be pretty important, to make the entire process very seamless. But at a broad level, typically you would need to interact with your various stakeholders, map the key materiality issues, to your businesses, which depends on the industry you belong to, the products you manufacture, understand the importance of each of these issues, right? And map those ESG KPIs to your ESG framework and start tracking and monitoring those. I thought I'll just put a slide on here, though many of you would be knowing about, the reporting out in Malaysia, which I spoke about as mandatory for all PLCs. But the key is, recently we saw Bursa Malaysia, issued a consultation paper, where the key highlights, would be the disclosures to be aligned with TCFD recommendations. I think that's a major shift, and the tools which are well aligned to GRI, TCFD would make life and the reporting processes pretty easy for many of the businesses in Malaysia. Dr. Noor, you want to speak anything on this slide?
No. Please proceed. Yeah.
Sure. So, we spoke about the risk and opportunities. We spoke about, the reportings. We spoke about, the demands of key stakeholders, right? Whether it's the investors, rating agencies, lenders, right? Now coming back specifically at an operational level, the challenges which the companies face in running that process, because it's about tracking whole set of data, whether it's a medium-sized company with 2-3 plants or locations, or it's a large-sized companies with 10 to 50 plants and locations. How do you really track data at a site level, at a business level? And then the complex GST accounting, greenhouse gas or carbon footprint accounting, which involves so many complications. And then the landscape which we are seeing. For example, let's look at Malaysia as an example. From GRI to TCFD, ISSB, which is International Sustainability Standard Board, is being formed about 6 months back. International standards are going to come to play in few months. And then it's important that companies spend more time on sustainability decisions rather than operational data management, right? And these are, so the point I'm trying to say, these are some of the ground level challenges which the companies are facing, right? So how do you really address these challenges? So that's the tools which we are speaking about. We are going to spend some time, on the tool which we have created, which would help a company to self-assess themselves where they are, manage their data seamlessly, digitally, look at a lot of analytics in terms of performance dashboards, and then the reporting itself. So yeah, so that's a bit about just to set the context in terms of the space and the reporting and the tools to ensure that the entire process is pretty smooth. Any questions till now? Feel free, or else what we'll do is we'll begin with the showing you some of the tools which we have created which can help businesses to manage their entire ESG data life cycle, including reporting digitally.
I think they want to see the tools first. Maybe from there they can ask the questions. Hello?
Sorry, Dhawal, I was on mute. Dhawal, over the screen, please, and begin with the demo.
Yeah, maybe they want to see the demo.
Yeah, Dhawal, over to
Thank
you.
you so much. Thank you so much, Satish. Thank you, Dr. Noor. Let me quickly share my screen. Please let me know once you're able to see my screen.
Yeah, Dhawal, go
You're
ahead.
able to see my screen now? Perfect.
Yeah, we can see.
So, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Noor. All right. So, as Satish rightly mentioned that, what we have designed with our experts is with a simple but yet a powerful tool which allows you to go ahead and completely self-evaluate your current position in the plan of ESG, and then also adherence with the global frameworks, and make sure that you are relying on the industry-specific issues, relevant gaps, and the contribution to the UN SDGs. With the data management, you would be able to track and monitor your ESG performances, and also gain valuable insights with analytics and the dashboards, which will help you to generate the sustainability reports and maintain an auditable data flow for you. So let me quickly run through the self-assessment part first. All right. So here what we have done is with the part of the main pillars of ESG, that's environmental social governance, we have further have themes, what we call it as, which will come under the environmental, the social, as well as governance. So you can see energy, water, materials, emissions, waste, water discharge, environmental innovation, management, etc. And under social, you have human resource development, human rights, community, social supply chain management, occupational health and safety, and under governance, you have the board and committee management and shareholder rights. So with self-assessment, what we have done is we have made a qualitative analysis where it will help you to go about and check what are the gaps you have and where exactly you lie. So with a simple, what we have done is we have given an array of questions where you just have to go about and answer with a yes or no. So for example, let me just quickly run through the energy part of it. So for energy, the questions would be just as simple as, do you have a strategy or policy for energy reduction? Or do you have a strategy or policy for renewable energy use? Is there any audit or external verification on energy usage? Do you have an energy management system? And do you monitor the energy consumption and so on? So all you need to do is, if you have a strategy or a policy for energy reduction, you just have to go ahead and click on yes, and the tool will update it and captures your answers. Same way with water, it will also ask you with, do you have strategy or policy to reduce water usage? Do you have any programs or initiatives to reduce water usage? So you have multiple questions. So this would come up to about 350 plus data points, which it will capture with just a qualitative answer of yes or no. Once you have provided your answers, that would again, with different categories, like even with these human resource, you would be able to see, do you have a strategy or policy on training and career development, or do you have initiatives or programs for training and career development? It will also show you, do you monitor total training hours? Do you monitor average training hours? Everything would be captured here to make sure that, you would not be missing out on anything with respect to the global standard frameworks. Once it has been captured, you just have to go about and click and submit and go to reports. So once you get into the reporting part, we have 4 reports, which would be gap report, the mapping report, ESG strategy report, and the SDG report. Now, let me quickly run through the gap report for you. So with the gap report, this provides you a 360-degree view of your company's ESG performance compared to the industry standards over here. So we do have a spider graph over here. This graph will let you know, based on your answers provided on questionnaire, where exactly do you stand with the measures for this particular theme. For example, right now with energy, with the answers provided, company would be covering about 18 measures, but with the industry standards, it would be about 22. So this gives you the complete gap analysis. And also, we do also have individually where you can see the environment, social, and governance based on the industry versus the company standards, where it will show as well. So you can see if the under environment, if the data points would have been about 114, with the answers provided, you would be able to see that 87 has been covered over here. Same way, if you scroll down, we do also provide a transparency score, which actually gives you being the more transparent with respect to the environment and social pillar. So if you see there, the overall score is also generated, as well as the individual pillars like environmental, social, and governance part is also calculated there. You can also see theme wise where exactly you rely, like example in energy, 82%, maybe emissions, it has not been captured properly. So we have about 859%. Okay. We have a question here. Where do you obtain the industry standards? Will it be national level or global level industry standards? Satish, would you like to take that question now
Sure,
or
sure.
later?
No, we can take a later, but just to given that we've already, taken a pause. So these standards are global in nature, GRI, TCFD, SASB, and in case any of our client needs to align to a particular standard, given that we have mapped, comprehensive ESG parameters for it, it's a function of just mapping it to that standard. So our solution in that sense is global in nature, and we have mapped to all the global standard itself. Yeah, go ahead,
Okay,
Dhaval.
Satish. Yeah. All right, now getting back to the tool, we also do have an option, or I would say a feature, which allows you to check on the key measures which needs to be focused on. So based on the questionnaire and the answers provided, we would be able to see the critical measures which needs to be checked upon, and our tool would let you know where exactly you have been missing, and this is something which needs to be focused on. And also, a detailed gap analysis table would be provided once you go through the self-assessment, and it will let you know about what are the uh, you know coverage, whether it has been covered or not, and what are the action plans if it has not been covered. For example, in energy, you can see that energy reduction strategy, it has been covered, so there's no action plan required. But where the energy reduction target, where it has not been covered, maybe we have not put it as yes and we had put it as no, so it lets you know that the prerequisite to set energy, so action plans are provided so that you can plan accordingly, and you can be on top of the ESG platform there. All right. And now getting back to the next report, that would be the mapping report. So the question was about whether we are in local or global, locally or globally, or, weaving on the standards there. So if you can see there, our tool is rightly aligned to GRI, SASB, TCFT, and integrated reporting. So it allows you to let you know what exactly is the significance. So it will let you know if topics are covered with all these, global standard frameworks, the significance of it, the industry-based standard, the focus on general materiality, the focus on financial materiality. Okay, I believe we have one more question.
So yeah, so what we have done here is, during the admin settings, maybe Dhaval can show as we move forward. Once you put the industry you belong to, only the relevant parameters are the ones which are going to get populated, right? And just to add on what the self-assessment module, which you are seeing the demo now, it is purely a hygiene level assessment, on qualitative parameters, right? So it's more something which a company can do when they're beginning their journey, and after that they can do, a couple of times in a year to really see the progress vis-a-vis the previous period. The crux of the solution is the data management and the tracking module, with reporting and dashboard, which will begin in, a couple of minutes time. To once again, to specifically answer your question, as I said, once you select the industry, only the relevant are the ones, which will get populated. I hope I answered that question. Yeah, that will go ahead.
Thank you, Satish. So, yes, as rightly said, initially when you're setting up the, okay, one noted in thanks, thank you. So initially, when you set up the context on with regards to the industry, during the setup, that would be on configuration part, you would be selecting and questions will be aligned to the industry standards, which we have selected the type for. Okay. And now coming back to the gap reports, you would also see that the mapping table we do have where it lets you know on the GRI where exactly it is referenced to. For example, with energy, company strategy and policy to reduce energy usage, it will be referred under GRI 103-2, GRI 302, and with TCFD, it would be yes, and with IR reference at 3.8 chapter. Same way with the rest of the, data points, you would be able to see that where again it has been referred to. Now, getting back to the next part of the reporting would be the SDG report. So in the September 2015, the UN General Assembly adopted the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. And this includes the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, that is SDGs, which has been brought up. And our tool has been aligned with that as well and lets you know if it has been covered with the basis of the answers which you have provided. And it also lets you know the materiality significance on it. For example, in the category of social, the measure would be employee layoff. And if the coverage is mentioned as no, then it will show the details over here with the materiality significance as high. So which means that we need to make sure that, these things are to be taken care of. Same way you have all the other SDGs, which will be based on. And when we go to the data management part of it during the dashboard, you would be able to see all the details of your data points being aligned to what SDGs of you and you. Okay. Now, overall, what I can say is that self-assessment is nothing but it helps you to self-evaluate your current position with the ESG platform, and also lets you know, it helps you to check after the usage of the tool, or maybe once you start your ESG journey, probably after say about down the lane about 6 months, you can still go ahead and check, and you can compare it and makes you know that where exactly you stand right now. So going on further to the data management part of it, that's the heart and soul of our tool. So this is the part where it allows you to track and monitor your complete ESG performances. So initially what will happen is as soon as you log into the details, that would be to the data management part, any tool, what we would do is initially we would go to the configuration part of it. So we do have configuration, which what we as a company we would do is if we have if a company or an organization needs help with the configuration, we go ahead and help them with an hand holding of the tool. That's when we go ahead and help them and assist them in setting up all these configuration part of the organization for them. So when I get to the configuration part, we have general, teams, and emissions, where general is a part where you can go ahead and set up locations, properties, units, and employee worker. So when I say location, location is nothing but you would be able to go ahead and add locations. So an organization could have one unit or might have multiple units. So when they have multiple units, we just have to go about and click on add locations, and then you would be able to go ahead and type in the asset name, the asset type, and then the headquarters, whether it's a water stress area, the address, fill them up, and then you add the details. Once they have been added for multiple locations, we also provide the option of grouping them, because most of the time what happens is based on the geographical factor or the financial factor, there would be grouping certain company, I would the units there. So we do provide that as well. So once the location has been set up, the next part would be setting up on the properties, the energy. When we're talking about energy, the energy is something like where you'll be selecting petrol, and then you would be mentioning what type of unit would be selected, the calorific value, and based on that, we go about and update it. Right now, with UpDAP, we are following the DEFRA and the IPCC standards there. But in case if any organization is following a different standard, yes, our tool is agile enough where we can go about and implement that as well. And we do have the emissions scope 1, scope 2, scope 3 as well. So once the configuration part is done, next part would be the tracking part of it. So whenever we get into the tracking part, first and foremost, we'll be selecting the location. And once the location has been selected, we go about and select the month and then the year we go about and select. And then we go about with setting up the information here. For example, right now, the energy factor right now where we'll be going about is electricity. So how we go about with entering the data, there are three types of options which you can provide or enter the data for our tool. One would be manually entering the data with where this is how you would be going and selecting the meter ID and then manually entering it. Second one would be with a template of the Excel template or a CSV template, which can be uploaded within the tool. And the third one would be something like if you already have a system which captures all the data, we would be able to have an API integration within our tool and then get it or import the data directly to the tool without any human intervention there. So as I told you, our tool is very agile where we can actually go ahead and help you with all the three types of inputs there. Now, entering the data over here for electricity, for example, let me go ahead and enter the meter ID, the process, let me P1 or P2. It's just for the reference point we have mentioned that. And then the source would be renewable or non-renewable. The meter reading would be say about 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, we have mentioned as an upper limit there. So what we'll have to do is 256. It shows an upper limit. And then we have also do provide the option where you can type in a note in case you can see that the upper limit has been set up at 234.30. So 256 is what we mentioned. So you can see a notification it's coming right there. So this can be, in the note you can mention as there was a new machinery which was included, and because of that there was additional power which was being consumed. And once you have completed this, you would be able to go ahead and save it. And give me one quick minute here. Data. Okay, I just had to do it again because it was not allowing me to save the data here. So let me do it again. Meter ID M1, P1, renewable, reading would be 256. Here you go. All right. So once which has been saved, just give me a minute. It looks like the
So
user.
people, everyone, I think what we have, the limits basically is a control we try to put, so that by mistake, people should not put a number which is not generally really acceptable to the process, right? And Dhaval, just go to the data entry piece. As you see, just here only, let it go. Just go up a little bit. Yeah, as I said initially, you can track the data at each site level, business level, right? You can create various processes. The tab which you see here, you can create various processes that you want to, site one you want to do it for chemical business, site one you want to do it for your pharma business, and within that you will have products. So from our solution perspective, you can track it at each granular level. Sure. I think, Dhaval, you can move forward. You have another 10 minutes, so that last 10, 15 minutes you can have on the
I'm just
Q&A,
showing
please.
them, once you save it because it was not set up to the preparer mode.
That's
So
okay.
that's one more thing which we had missed out is, so it's a user specific one. So you'll have a data management role as well as an approver role. So it was on an approver role. That's the reason why we were not getting the save option. So I'll click on save. And once the data has been saved, you would be able to see it in the next tab, which is status, where it will give you the complete details of it. And also, if you see the total GHG emissions, it has already been calculated and updated over here. So there's no manual intervention which is required over here. So we also have the trend data analysis, which allows you to give the complete trend of the yearly data. And once the tracking part has been updated, the next part would be the dashboard, where you would be able to see the complete details of the different themes will be captured, and also the standards which has been aligned to it. So if you see, this is an environmental dashboard screen. So on the bottom of the screen, you can see environmental, energy, GHG emission, water waste, social 1, 2, 3, health and safety, corporate governance, and the production. So it gives you a complete overview of what exactly has been captured and the analytics of like top energy consuming sites, scope 1 and scope 2 GHG emissions, total water consumption. And on the top, on the left hand side, you can see the standards which has been covered, which is GRI, SASB, TCFD, UNIPRI, the UN SDGs. Same way with energy, you would have completely the UN SDGs which has been selected, which has been utilized over here. That would be the 7, 12, and 13. So you have options of bifurcating it with only locations. You can select all, or if you want, you can just select one particular location and check. The same way with energy source, you can select all, or if you have to look on specific usage of electricity, you can check on that as well. Same way we have different for health and safety and the corporate governance. So that is the dashboard which allows you to view the complete analytics of your tracking the data points over there. Now moving on to the reports over here. So the report, what we have is we have the ESG reports over here. Now with the ESG report, what you can do is we give you an opportunity where you would be able to go ahead and select it as a financial years, filter it, and then the location specific. For example, multiple locations, you can select one or two, or if you have just one location, you can select one location itself. And you can further filter it with the environment. That would be the themes factor, which it's for environment, social, you would be able to further filter it. And then you also have the standards which you can set. For example, right now you can see is it's all selected with the all, where you can see BRSR, and what we can do is BRSR is not required because it is only for the Indian government here, application here. So now, once the ESG performance report has been generated, you can see over here on the right-hand side, the disclosures would be the total fuel consumption within the organization from renewable resources, and the value would be shown over here, and then the standards where it has been aligned to, that is GRI 302-1, the SDGs 7, 8, 12, and 13. The same way with the rest of the thing, that would be the total GHG emissions. It will show the value, and then the GRI and the standards, which is again GRI with the SDG 3, 12, 13, 14, 15. So overall, this is where it gives you a standard referencing report and lets you know where exactly what knowingly or unknowingly a company has achieved the GRI standards or the SDGs, which is within the company. You also will have custom reports where you would be able to go ahead and get an environmental custom report, social custom report, waste custom report, material custom report, as well as operation custom report. So these are the things which is aligned within the tool, and it gives you an insight of how about how exactly you would be giving an your contribution would be for the environment over here. So overall, what I would say is that initially, as I told you, it's a simple but yet a very powerful tool which allows you to track, monitor, self-evaluate yourself with the ESG landscape and make sure you would be able to get a complete generate a sustainability report for you with the maintainable, auditable data flow as well. That's about our tool over here. Any questions so far?
Any questions? Anyone feel free to ask, so we have about 10-15 minutes, we can get into discussion.
Makanan ke benda-benda kan. Kau determine dia punya garam tu.
Medium.
Shall we open to a few questions? Stephen, are you there? Stephen, do you have any question? Yeah, some of the people which I know are quite familiar with tools and reporting.
Is there a way to actually have maybe a free run through of sample of the program?
Sure, we can look at that. We will separately talk to Dr. Noor in terms of a specific use case and get back on that. Stephen?
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Anybody else has a question? Janet, are you there? Do you have a question?
No, not at the moment. Thank you. Yeah.
So anyone wants to share their views currently, your businesses, how are you really currently, tracking and managing your ESG performances? What are the challenges you all face? Really be happy to know that, your views and how you're running your operations.
Yeah, I guess everybody is understanding the concept of the reporting. So, but probably the application of the tools, people need to see to what extent they can use it for whatever data that they have and how much data does people have to put it up. Yeah. And probably the question is, how long do you take for people to key in the data into the system?
So it's a SaaS solution. Once a customer decides that they want to engage, it can be deployed in like 2 to 3 weeks time. And how do you really key the data and the time? It's a function of whether one is you directly enter the data. Second, you can upload Excel or CSV files, or if there's an operating system, you can integrate it. So companies have different practices. Some of them, enter the data on a weekly or a monthly basis. Right. So how you enter the data, the time would be a function of that. But typically that's what the practice is.
I guess, Noli, do you have any question? Noli, you have probably handling a lot of data.
Hello. Hello. Hi, Dr. No at the moment, but because this is very new in Malaysia, we are actually, if you are not in FIFA framework or ESG, So you do not understand details on the variables. Yeah? The most important on the variables, what we're going to search, what are the data that we wanted to see the impact about. So I think the first and fundamentals for Malaysian to take this is to understand the ESG and how you translate into the softwares or the data. But I'm so happy today. We have seen the presentations, very good presentations in terms of placing the data, placing how do you get that the analysis. So I think that's very new and it's very clear to explain to the clients, for example, in Malaysia. If we do not have the apps or the data in place, I think it's very hard to explain what are the impacts have been made due to the ESG reporting purposes. So I think the thought is very important. And then I just wondering, you guys selling the apps or the softwares or what you guys doing? So that will be the next question then.
Sure. Yeah. So Noli, just coming to the just input on the first part, so we have already created the ESG parameters. So for example, let's look at Malaysia, where most of the companies are reporting as per GRI. Now gradually it could be TCFD. So our solution, we have already mapped 750 parameters, which contains all what is aligned to GRI, TCFD and other standards also. So the user or the company, we have made life easy. So once a Malaysian company or any company will sign up with us, we will, as part of the onboarding process, help them map those parameters. That will be part of the job, though we have already configured that in the solution. The second question, so yes, we are a product company and we have created this SaaS-based ESG product, and we sell it to multiple markets, which is a function of the number of users which our clients take. And Dr. Noor, obviously we have a strategic partnership with we are going to work together and sort of really penetrate the Malaysian market.
Maybe somebody from oil and gas, from Balesto, I would say maybe is it coming from anybody from oil and gas? You want to ask a few questions?
Okay, basically, Hisham here. I did ask the first question earlier with regards to the industrial standard or industry standard, and my experience before is that when we do Solomon Index is looking into what will be the industry average, for instance, like globally. And for instance, like when we look into maintenance index, and then we see that what actually people who are in the States, in Europe, and even in Asia are packed within the web just now when you show the trending. So then whether you are in the first quartile, second quartile, third quartile, or the last quartile. So this way you need to have sufficient data to actually to look into many similar industry or similar companies within the industry to be able to actually to see where are you actually packing with respect to the standard. So are you doing it, or you are basically placing that what should be within the within industry, that then your answer all yes, and then you look into when somebody has some yes, some no, then you are basically looking into that will be your gap. Are you all also able to do that? What will be the typical or the average industry within the industry in that particular segment? Because some industry definitely there are going to be a yeses and no and so on. Then you come up with that the web. So how are we going to be go about it? Whether you're basically going to map it with the industry average, or you're basically using the what would be supposedly to the industry having all the yeses?
So see, one is the yes or the no is on the qualitative part. Okay, the quantitative, the data management module which we showed, the company is going to enter or upload their factual data in terms of the ESG performances, and obviously the solution can digitally help you to perform the carbon footprint accounting. So it's not only yes and no, you will capture the data, and your another element on the industry average. So what we also have a feature where the performances of the peers in the industry for wherever the data is available in the public domain. We will map that in our solution so that the client or the company can see how they are performing vis-a-vis the peers also in the market. So in that sense, you will get some idea about how the industry is moving on those parameters. Yeah.
Any question, Rosia? I know you're coming from Velesto. Any question from your side?
So far, no, but very, the useful information because I just joined, doing the sustainability about 1 month. So it's a good information. We will contact your site, later on.
Thank you. Anybody else who has a question? Iman, maybe you want to introduce yourself, Iman?
Hi. My name is Iman. I'm doing research in cluster right now. It's really I'm really happy to hear the knowledge from here. And so far, I don't have any question, but thank you for the sharing.
Thank you. Siti Rahima, I know you're coming from UMW. Maybe some experience you have, and maybe you want to share some of the presentation and any issues that you think could be relevant to be brought up.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. It's good, and actually, I'm not the person in charge for UMW for this ESG. We have another team, but we have not able to contact them to hear this this talk today. So we'll get them, or we'll get from you maybe the records and to chat with them later. All right, thank you.
Yeah, sure. Definitely, we can share the recording and probably set up another meeting with you on this. Fats Omar, maybe you want to introduce yourself also?
Hi. Good afternoon, everyone. I just joined this discussion, so I don't have any questions at the moment.
So generally, I think everybody see the basic understanding about how data management can be done and how easy we can capture data, so that, of course, presentation to the board and presentation to the top management, to the investors, especially to the banks. Now banks are probably looking for people with the ESG report. I think I had one experience with one client where we were in the midst of doing a training, and then suddenly the client received a WhatsApp message from the bank to say, hey, when can I get your ESG report? So looks like the banks are really, really keen. Yeah. So if you feel that gathering competent person in the company would take a longer time, I think what we need to do is to at least get the basic assessment. I always call this materiality assessment, is to get the basic understanding where your situation is in the company, and to what extent you want to start to focus on your ESG, whether you want to focus more of E or focus more of S or focus more of G. So then from there you can put your budget and put your right necessary team to develop internally the strength of your company. I think that's where the need for people to understand. It is not that you have to do everything, but you got to strategize in terms of what will be your company's objective in driving the objective of sustainability. Yeah, I'm sure everybody have his own agenda on sustainability. Just matter of how you wrap it up with your group of strategic people in the company. I'm sure a lot of people have your committee or your own division. Yeah, maybe Julian, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello. My name is Julian. So I'm energy manager for Newton. So that's about it.
Okay, all right. Okay, so I think we are almost near to the end of the session. Maybe Satish, you want to wrap up? I'm sure today is just an introduction of the tools. And after this, I'm sure a lot of people will want to have a follow-up regarding the full demonstration of your tools. One last remarks.
Sure. I think, no, thanks, Dr. Noor, for this. I mean, it was really a pleasure to meet everyone. And happy to see that Malaysia is one of the few countries where, ESG reporting is mandatory for listed companies, right? And I'm sure a lot of large private companies need to report to the banks or to the rating agencies, right? So any of you or any of your clients, feel free to reach out to us. Write to, you can reach out to Dr. Noor or, Qarina Mistry or me. We are there on the LinkedIn. Qarina can share her email ID over the chat here. Right, feel free to reach out to us, and we'll be really happy to answer any of your queries, or if it means any of the your acquaintances or any of the clients who need a demo of the solution, we can certainly do that through Dr. Noor. Yeah. Okay, Dr. Noor, you're on mute.
I think last but not least, let's have a group photo so that everyone can open up their video and we can have a photo shoot. Yeah, have a chance to have a look at everyone. Yes. Okay. That's great. So I will get my team to be ready to take up the photos. So it's nice to meet all of you. Yeah, Satish and Qarina has put their email in. So as you said, the local representative in Malaysia is Think Plus, which is myself. So other than Think Plus, we have SustNET, which is the association that is driving a lot of industry-related sustainability program. We do support a lot of industry. So there's always a lot of collaboration that we can work with, and of course giving people the awareness is part of our agenda. All right, so thank you very much for all the pictures. So my group will take all the pictures and we'll put all the YouTube, and then we'll share for those who miss. So have a good lunch, everyone, and stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Qarina.
Bye.
Thank you, Dawal.
Bye now.